Hey everyone, it's a Photo Techie. I hope you're all doing well. Yes, the Kaleid is not doing 1000 Hz on Xbox. Let's take a look. So just quickly talking about the firmware update you need to do to get the 1000 Hz option in the Nexus software, and that's only on PC. There are two different methods. They are on Gamesir's website. I'll leave a link in the description as well for these tutorials. But you can either use the T4K app, which is a much simpler process and it works, or you can do a custom install, which basically I tried as well. So the first video I made, I had done the T4K, and then since then I decided to try the second method as well, just to make sure if there were any differences. Both of these work the same way. If you go into 1000 Hz, it will disable the Xbox license on PC. And so yeah, try whichever one basically you think is easier for you. But definitely do that. Without this, the polling rate option is not going to show in the Nexus app for the Kaleid and the Flux. All right, let's quickly talk about the testing method. So I did two different tests. One was a motorized solution. So the rod was moving at a constant pace for all the tests. And then basically the moment the stick moves, we're just checking how long it's taking for the screen to register any input. And the other was the normal flick test. And if I just show you guys here, so that's the frame where we have movement. So the top is 250, this is 500. And just going forward, you'll see that, you know, the movement happens slightly first on the 500, but you have to do enough tests to get sort of like, you know, all the variables and stuff. So that was one way of testing it. And the other, like I mentioned, was just basically flicking as quickly as possible and then just counting the frames, how long it's taking for the screen to show the register. One thing I did change this time, I made sure the Kaleid had 0 dead zones and the in-game sensitivities were set to 100. Also, XDefiant, you sort of log into a server, so I made sure it was the same session. It wasn't that I was coming back out and going back into the practice range. So literally same session, just changing the controller to do the test. So Kaleid 0 dead zones, because it's a newer controller. But unfortunately, my G7 SE, I couldn't do 0 dead zones because that one has more drift. And if I was doing 0, it was just moving a lot. So that one had 2. Minimum dead zones was set to 2, which I believe is around 2%. So Kaleid was 0, G7 SE at 2, and yeah, motorized test and the flick test. Let's take a look at the results. Before I show the Xbox results, these are, on the left here, are the PC results. And these were the results from the first video, where I did the G7 SE 1000 Hz on Xbox, Kaleid on 1000 Hz, and we have the averages here. And those are the per frame results. So these are basically flick tests. And in the previous video, I showed this one. These are the PC results. So on my PC, my laptop is GTX 1650. So that's why I didn't do too many, because I don't trust the results that much. But it was clear that the G7 SE on the PC, in the same testing, the same server session, G7 SE came at 7.68. So those are the basically frame results. The Kaleid at 1000 Hz actually was better, 7.44. And in the same server session, when I went into with the Elite Series 2 connected that, so that came with 8.44. So those were the results on the PC. And yeah, so the Kaleid definitely, if you're on the PC, use the 1000 Hz. You don't have to do any scripts or whatever. It works on the PC perfectly. So yeah, PC, 1000 Hz, all good. Let's take a look at the Xbox results. So here I have the motorized solution results. And so that's the G7 SE. And these numbers will look higher because the motor is moving a lot slower than what I can move the stick by hand. So we have to keep that in account. So G7 SE 1000 Hz on Xbox 8.8. Those are the basically results it gave. Kaleid at 500 was 9.8. And if you look at the Kaleid at 1000, you know, the motor, same pace, everything is slower than 500 Hz, which confirmed my theory in the previous video that the 1000 Hz is definitely disabling the Xbox license. So when you're bringing it back to Xbox, it's reverting back to 250. And so this is the 250 result there as well. I don't think there's, you know, much that 11.1, 10.9. I think it's just like my variances of like that test samples. If you were to do a lot more, we'll see a lot close results. So this sort of confirmed to me that 500 Hz is definitely performing better on Xbox, and that's my play experience as well. 500 Hz definitely feel better than setting the controller at 1000 Hz. Now let's take a look at the flick test results. So here are the flick test results. Out of 40 tests, the Kaleid 500 Hz average at 7.7 frames, 1000 Hz 8.9, G7 SE was 7.25. And if you go through them all, you can see G7 SE did more 6 frames, more 7 frames than the Kaleid in 500. The 1000 hertz is on Kaleid definitely reverting back to 250. And this is with Kaleid having 0 dead zones, G7 SE having 2 minimum dead zones. But we do have audio at 500 hertz. So that potentially is a huge plus if you go with Kaleid, if you need the audio from the headphone jack on the controller. So that's there. But yeah, 1000 hertz, this basically confirms my suspicion. 1000 hertz is definitely not working on Xbox. 500 hertz is the setting that you need to do. I wish there was a way of just having that as a standard result, not having to set it up on the PC, because as you've seen the motorized solution, the 250 is definitely slower than 500. So we still have to do that step to get that extra performance. But yeah, 500 hertz is better than 1000 hertz and 250 hertz on the Kaleid when you're playing on Xbox. So finally, after seeing many test results, I can see that we have better performance than 250 hertz, but we do have to set it to 500 hertz. 1000 hertz is definitely not the way to go on Xbox, so definitely set it to 500 hertz. I do wish it was the case that it was just like that out of the box. We didn't have to do all this tinkering and stuff to get it to this stage, because the audio works, everything works. So that's one thing. But performance-wise, it's been great. Like, I've been enjoying this controller on XDefiant a lot. I've put around 15-16 hours of game time on it, and it's very predictable, very controllable. And in 500 hertz, definitely shines for me. I would compare it to, I can carry on now making a video comparing it to G7 SE. I do still think G7 SE is slightly better, but that's a separate video that I'll be working on now. For me, this has performed really well. Just yesterday, I went on an 11 win streak using this controller. So yeah, a very good performer, and definitely, guys, set it to 500 hertz, and please do me a favor, share your thoughts, how it's performing for you. Especially if you've been using it in 1000 hertz, set to 500 hertz, and please leave in the comments what you think of the performance in 500. And if anybody has the Flux, definitely please share what you guys are thinking of the performance of that one. Thank you to everyone who subscribed. Your support means a lot. Thanks a lot for watching this video. Hopefully, I'll catch you in one of my other videos. Bye for now.